Alright, today we only have the one little package. It's a pretty important thing. Dr. Stone New World. Season 3, Part 2. Part 1 have a limited edition thing. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I guess I'll have to go back and find out. Regions A and B. Oh, itty bitty text. Japanese and English. 10,000%. Not any different underneath the slipcover, but yam with it yam. Oh, that's right. I think there's more that's gonna air soon. That said, I should make sure this thing is getting in there. Man, these things just don't work more and more, do they? Like, I just can't fucking get it in there. Huh. I guess that's in there now. That's Blu-ray 3. Now, can I get Blu-ray 4 in this thing? I think that worked. And DVD 3? Oh my god. Couldn't even get it out. I think it's because of that little lip there. DVD 4. Interesting. It almost looked like this image would continue over there, although that's not what they were trying to do with that. Yeah, this is the only thing. But I guess, like I hinted at last time, I did have a, an unopened Christmas present. You know, my friend has interesting things. Geeky, nerdy things. So I guess we've got 3 Magic the Gathering cards. We've got, that's either Vilis or Vilis, Broker of Blood. And then 2 versions of Maha Its Feathers Night. Oh, it's pretty cool. So he also got me a Ghost Cube, which I'm still not quite sure what I want to do with it. Like, I've only figured out that you can twist those things. I'm a little trepidatious to go further. And then, probably most interesting and unexpected, he got me some books. P is for Pterodactyl, the worst alphabet book ever. T is for Tsunami. So this looks pretty funny. Like, it's all words that, you know, they begin with those words, but that's not quite what they are. And then some little golden books, which are interesting. You know, I haven't read any of these in a long time, but A is for Alien. Sounds really fun. Back to the Future was always cool. Funko Pop versions of them, so I don't know what to make of that. And the Goonies Funko Pop version of that. So, you know, some classic nostalgia stuff. These are obviously not the little golden books that I grew up with. But these are all movies I grew up with, so I guess this is probably good nostalgia bake for someone like me. Anyways, that's the interesting update part of it. Here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. And as I demonstrated, look what shirt happened to be at the top of the pile. Anyways, that's an aside. So a lot of stuff to talk about this week because a lot of new shows started. I didn't watch everything. Some things got delayed, blah, 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 blah. But let's start going down the list. For starters, you know, things that aren't new shows. Free Run episodes 12 through 16. I definitely preferred the timing of some of the Japanese dub over the English dub, but, you know, it's entertaining stuff. some good episodes in there, and I think we pushed that one a little hard because we had a slightly slow evening. We were trying out a new Brazilian steakhouse in the area. It was very nice. It's in the Domain. If you're in Austin, then you know what the Domain is. If you don't, then don't worry about it. It's just if you're not familiar with the Brazilian steakhouse, it's a lot of meat. It's not necessarily steak. There's steaks in there, but there's also, like bacon wrapped chicken and all stuff. You basically have a cart on the table. You turn the green side up when you want them to bring you more meat, and you turn it down. But I digress. The point is, these episodes, they're not as focused, although there is definitely an important arc, and they don't end at the most perfect thing. But I think the cliffhanger at this one is a more satisfying one to be at and be prepared for the next week. I think we're going to be trying to chop up the remaining episodes into 5, then 5, and then 2, I guess. I don't know if my friend understands exactly that plan, but hopefully he'll respect it. Good stuff coming up. Looking forward to it. And the stuff that was there, not only fun, but, a couple of spectacular moments, I would say. On my own, I decided to start watching Vermilion Gold. I've watched the first 6 episodes of it. I guess, I'm watching random stuff on YouTube. Shorts here and there. I'm like, I think it got me intrigued. It's like, oh yeah, both of those series are on my... Maybe I'll get around to watching them. And Executioner and Her Way of Life has me a little hesitant. Vermilion Gold, I guess instead of watching it on High Def, I really should just be watching the... I think I have it twice. I don't remember where the first copy is, but I have it on Steelbook, and I should probably be watching that. But I guess I'm not. But from what I've seen so far, actually, it seems pretty decent. I think there's a bit of an issue, and it helps. This sort of issue helps when you just have a lot of the show that you can just watch, especially when it's dubbed and you're like, well, maybe it's okay, and I'll just have it on in the background while I'm doing Animal Crossing stuff, because for some reason I'm back to doing Animal Crossing stuff. I don't know if I'll ever get my third island to 3 stars, let alone 5 stars, but digress. It's I make it sound like, oh, I just had it on in the background, but I didn't think it was actually that bad. It's I guess a bit of a palate cleanser to a certain degree compared to some other stuff. I mean, our main character is a little bit stereotypical weak-willed, but not enough that I feel like it's too stereotypical. It really does feel like there's a bit more meaning to the stuff happening in it, especially from a relationship perspective, which is interesting because I started watching it after something else, which just made me not want to watch another relationship anime. But I'll get there when I get there. It does have its perversion stuff, and I think probably one of its weakest points is that I guess it kind of sort of points towards a forward direction of this is where we want to go with it. I'm not sure if it necessarily feels like it's doing that, but outside of that, it seems to just be fine doing stuff that's like, oh yeah, I guess this is pretty entertaining. And if you've watched it before, you know that after 6 episodes, well, it's a kind of a hard place to stop, but I just don't have the energy to not go to bed these days. Man, I just feel so tired lately. But, overall, I've enjoyed it. I'm probably going to fire back up some more episodes after this recording. We got other stuff to go through. Bogus Skill Fruit Master. About that time, I became able to eat unlimited numbers of skill. Probably skill fruit. I don't know. Episode 1. And it's an okay first episode. Let's see. It's hard to tell what to completely make of everything because it feels like it's got a lot of pieces and places that it's playing with. Not a bunch of, oh, this has never been seen before, but pieces in place. But I think my feeling of it was sort of like a shaky house, but maybe it's still good. A good place to rest away from the rain or something like that. So, doing something that a house might need to do. I guess we'll just have to see what more episodes brings us. And I'm not sure if that's putting it perfectly, but it sort of feels like there's certain elements in place that are ones that we would want, and some of them just kind of feel shaky, like they're not behaving the way they need to, but they're not misbehaving in a way that just makes a show unwatchable. It's definitely one of those, gotta see where it's going with some of the stuff, like some of the, now he's at the Adventurers Guild, and even though we kind of know why he's there now, I guess why he's dressed the way he's dressed kind of surprises me a little bit. It feels like a bit of a transition, a quick transition. The girl, childhood friend person, that one's like wondering if she became a bitch, but also wondering if there's something else going on. That one's a little bit on the shelf just to kind of see what the show is going to show us happens from here. The nun, though, yeah. I was about to call her cunt, but I don't know. I think she's just a piece of shit. But the main problem I have being that I guess things ended up the way they ended up, and it leaves the question of why would she act in such a heartless manner, I guess? And I'm not sure that that's I think that may be what we're supposed to be thinking. Again, there's a lot of this that feels rickety and strange, but curious. Yeah, we'll just see what more episodes brings. Possibly the greatest alchemist of all time, episode 1. I think everything about this one felt like it started good. Like, if there's any problem I would have, it's that I wanted to see what happened in the next episode or two. I want to see where it's going to go. I feel like it's put a bunch of interesting and fun elements in place. A good, what was it? Yeah, it was isekai stuff, and because I have to remember whether or not some of these are fantasy, medieval fantasy isekai, or just medieval fantasy. Sometimes it can be hard to remember, but yeah, this one was full up isekai, and yeah, just off to a fun enough start. Ameku MD Dr. Detective, episodes 1 and 2. Good thing there were 2 episodes, and it seems fine. I might give it another episode or 2. We'll just have to see. For detective shows, it was actually a very interesting mystery that they provided to us in the first episode, and a very interesting, that actually feels like it reached its conclusion. And one of the nice things about it is it felt really well thought out, in that I think it gave us information and didn't have characters like pulling things off from the side, like saying, well, what was that blue puddle? And granted, why we might not know, because, they're going to stay doctor stuff. I think they showed all the elements coming together, so it feels a lot more natural, straightforward, and in certain regards, it felt smart. And, if there's failings here, they'd probably be pretty standard failings for kind of mystery detective sort of show, where when they introduce a character who is really smart, sometimes they can have a bit of a personality, and sometimes that can make or break the character. In this case, I feel more make than break, but the possibility for break is still there, I think. But overall, it seems like a pretty fun little setup, I guess, with the uncle being the only person that's like, why do you fucking care? And to elaborate on that, it's just the thought of, if somebody is doing their work, then why the fuck do you care if there's other stuff that they're happening to do on the side. Oh, is it because they're not enslaved enough to you or something? Which isn't quite where it's going, but it is dumb. But I don't know. Part of that could just be that they didn't give the right impression of how everything's measuring up. In certain ways, it kind of reminds me of House, which, now that I mention it, I do wonder if that was a pure translation or something that the subtitlers added, which could be fine. But it seemed to me like this show made a nod towards House. At least watching the subtitle version. So I don't know if the original Japanese audio said that, but they mentioned how, well, this kid has a really weird thing going on. Well, these could be signs of lupus, but no, it's not lupus. And that seems to be a reference to Dr. House. So somebody seemed to be a fan. I'm just kind of curious if that was the subtitlers or the people, the original makers of the show. Maybe even the original manga. Is this? What do I feel like that reference is only girl manga creators? I don't know. It's all a curiosity, but yeah, overall, I'd say off to a good start. And 2 episodes was definitely just the right, because I think they really needed it to really sell, because while it had a interesting setup, it was really hard to tell how interesting the payoff would be for that setup, I guess. So, good stuff. Let's see, on my notes, the 12th episode of Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon at Season 5 is still delayed. Dragon Ball Daima episode 13 was also delayed, but I do believe it's not a particularly long delay. Which one was I seeing? I think it was that one. I think... Nah, it was a different show. Because I got question marks next to things. It's like, I didn't watch this, and either that means it's a show that I pondered watching, because it's a new show, but I haven't maybe yet. Yeah. But anyways, let's keep going on. I'm Getting Married to a Girl I Hate in My Class, episode 1. I'm definitely not going to watch episode 2. I really hate her a lot. And the show rates pretty well. In fact, this was the one that I mentioned before. It's like I watched the show about relationships or stuff. I'm just like, I can't stand this. The problem is, you know, some of the best case for her is, okay, they're going tsundere, but to quote some people, it's too much soon, not enough dere. And I don't think that's putting it quite the right way. I think the real way I'd be putting it is that best case, if this is just the way she reacts because she likes him, well, I mean, abusive relationship very much. But at the same time, I've mentioned this before, where sometimes you have to watch a show and you have to say, okay, well, you don't have to do this, but you do have to, you can look at it through a lens of, okay, this is a romance show where they're like this. Now, what happens when those lovey-dovey feelings kind of flitter away? I don't remember the name of that episode of that show where there was a good example of that, where it's like, okay, the girl hitting on him was really cute, but the way her mother acted, it's like, oh my god, he's going to be miserable once they get married, and that daughter is no longer timid from the butterflies, and then she's just like, oh, why are you fucking with my life, or something like that. I don't know. And I don't think that's necessarily the case that everybody's that bad, and not everybody necessarily takes after their parents, but, you know, I kind of look at some of this stuff and say, if she likes him and she's acting that way because she likes him, this isn't like the guy's teasing girl, but maybe he's gone a step too far. She's just downright shitty. And my opinion on him is a little on the shelf. Not that I think that he's an asshole, but it's really hard to say, because one interesting thing about the show is one of the first things she's complaining to him about, it's really hard to measure on their own, just me, myself, not being a part of that culture. In particular, she's criticizing him for the way he handled after-class activities. In particular, they have a class journal, and so it was, how did he write in that? How did he also write in that relating to the schedule? And then a criticism about him not wiping down the blackboards. And it's just like, if he was supposed to clean that stuff up and he didn't, that actually is a relevant criticism to him to some degree now. Whether or not it's to the level she described, I can't tell, because, well, it's like, okay, yeah, if he's on chalkboard cleaning duty and he just didn't do it, that's that doesn't say good things about him. But those other two things, I feel like they indicate that he's being lazy to a certain degree, or he considers it beneath him, or I don't think that's quite the right word to put it. It's like maybe he has other things, like I'd rather be doing all this other stuff. And it's without knowing what the average expectation is, I can't gauge if he's just kind of being an asshole to the people around him by doing that, or if it could be something else. But let's see, the cousin was quite adorable. And I also liked the friend, the glimmering girl. I forgot what they call those, but whatever. You know, those characters were nice. Grandpa can take a long walk off a short pier. Grandma, she seemed happy, but irresponsible, I guess. Like, I don't know. Anyways, the point is, I guess there's an implication that maybe our main character, Guy, has a goal. But the problem is, with this first episode, with her just being, I don't know, I think I dry heave, and I don't mean dry hump, I mean try to throw up if half the, oh, you're going to be in a relationship with this person happen. And they may throw bad words at each other, but it's like, oh God, she's such a horrible person. I hate her. And, you know, the main character's supposed to hate her, and what I was looking for was any kind of hint in the first episode that would make me think, well, this is why I would like her anyways. And if all it gave me was, well, she's a cute anime girl, well, I'm afraid my standards, if you could call them that, don't give me the energy to want to watch more. And we'll have to see. I'm not giving it the 3-episode treatment. I'm not planning to, but we'll have to see. So, I do believe, though, that most people liked it. It was rated pretty well. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Beheneko, Elf Girl's Cat is Secretly an Resurrected Monster, Episode 2. Guess it was an episode. I kind of forgot that the Episode 1, I guess, had a little bit of that perversion-y sort of stuff going on. But Episode 2 kind of began a little strongly on it, and it was just, I'm trying to remember what happened. We at least had the blacksmith lady there and them starting a thing. I could see myself losing energy on this show really fast. We'll just have to see. Solo Leveling Season 2 Arise from the Shadows. I said here Episode 2, and I'm pretty sure I just meant the first episode. Probably I meant to type Episode 13, because I think that's what it was called on Crunchyroll. But whatever, the one episode that they had, and I thought it was actually pretty fun. Off to a fun start. If you enjoyed Solo Leveling Season 1, I think if there's anything disappointing about this episode, it's that, oh, why don't I have the next episode yet? It's because it seems pretty fun. Off to a fun start. Good job, Season 2. I'm Living with an Otaku Neat Kunoichi, Episode 1. What did I think about it? One thing I really liked is that even though she's being a shut-in, he's kind of doing a heartwarming job of acknowledging what she's doing. So she may be trying to be a neat. She may starve herself to, you know, instead of using the food money to buy food, she might use it to buy an anime figure. He'd still get it to her, and he doesn't lecture her, because to a certain degree, he's like, I know you're not around here at the house, like, doing a whole lot, but what you are doing, helping me with those things I want to kill me, I really appreciate that. He doesn't say that, but he says it through his actions, I feel. And there's something heartwarming about that. Don't know what to think about the other people yet, since they did introduce that girl. But I guess if there's anything I would say is not drawing me in about the first episode, it's that I'm not quite sure on an episode-by-episode basis what I might be enjoying from this. So I guess we'll have to see if I'll continue watching or not. But, okay. Let's see. I did not watch the first episode of Fell in Love with an Okinawa Girl, but I just wish I know what she's saying. Partially because, that one was very relationship, and I had to keep pausing through Girl I Hate episode 1, so I just didn't feel in a very relationship mood, I guess. So, that one's not watched. It may not get watched. We'll have to see. I Want to Escape from Princess Lessons, Episode 1. It's not rated particularly high, and there's certain things about the first episode that feel a little off, but overall, it's an okay start, I guess. I'm kind of curious to see what it's going to do with episodes 2 and 3. It doesn't feel spectacular, per se, but, it might be kind of pleasant. I think the thing that made me going back and forth. Well, first of all, it wasn't rated that greatly. It's not bad. But I was still kind of curious, but also not feeling a whole lot of stuff, I guess. But I like the prospect that it kind of talked about her moving out of kind of the castle stuff and out more rural. And I kind of want to see what that entails. And I feel like the way it's set up towards going to that, it didn't do that in the first episode. It just set up all the stuff where it's just like, of course, it's your stereotypical. There's the lady teaching princess lessons and call her cunt, but there's no warmth there at all. There could always be depth, but it doesn't feel like it. Feel is a key word there. Doesn't mean that there's not depth. It just means depth. It just means there's no feel. But overall, it's like, okay, watching her go through all that is pretty soul crushing. Feels a little unrealistic in a couple of different ways, but maybe that's the way real life princess training may or may not have happened. But the way the episode ends is just sort of like, actually, that's kind of fun. Okay, and I want to see what episode 2 does, so I'll probably watch the next episode of that. I guess Zenshu is a little bit on the radar, but I didn't watch the 2 episodes that are out, or the first episode already. But I guess the reason why I didn't feel like it is, it talked about work culture. I'm like, I already work every single day. That's why I'm kind of not interested. Like, I think there's a show about, this season about a guy and a cute girl at work or something like that. It's just like, sorry, a little too close to home. I already slog my way through work as it is. Low energy does not help with that. But, that element of it made me question, but then I'm not quite sure what kind of show it actually is, because it feels like the descriptions are making it hard to put a finger on it. So I'm curious, and it's dubbed, so I can do that while doing other things in the background. But I guess I'll have to see how I feel as this week goes on. Yeah, we'll have to see. Ari Ferretta Season 3 has been delayed, I think. That's the one that it sounds like the next episode, which is January 13th is what I thought, but maybe I'm thinking of a different thing on the 13th. Anyways, I got the impression that the next episode is a recap, which makes me think that it is setting up for something really important that's going to come afterwards. That was the impression I got. I guess we'll have to see, but there was no additional episode. Headhunted to Another World, from Salaryman to Big 4. Surprisingly, 2 episodes to report on today, because episode 1 aired Wednesday, but then episode 2 aired today, so, I'm reporting on it. I find it to actually be pretty entertaining. Now, I know I just said, oh, what about the workplace thing? Well, this one isn't quite workplace. This is more salaryman, but very specifically negotiator salaryman kind of person. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't do that at work, so yeah, it doesn't hit that button. Instead, it's just like interesting to see how it's playing around with the stuff that it's doing. It's like, okay, it's been fun so far. 2 episodes gone pretty well. The clearly I don't know what kind of girl she is, but the fiery maybe dragon girl question mark girl thing, she's been a fun companion to have. Maybe a little on the nose in terms of, I guess, being a foil for the good idea he's bringing, I suppose. But, you know, I don't think it's too bad. So far, it's just been kind of neat. Just living up to its fun premise of, he's a salaryman who was really good at negotiations. He was specifically summoned to do negotiations for the Demon King, and that's why he's one of the big 4. And so far, 2 out of 2, they've actually been pretty fun. It's like, oh yeah, I feel like they're actually playing with, engaging with the central premise of the show really well. So it's been fun so far. Let me see, we had 2 episodes of I'm a Noble on the Brink of Ruin, so I might as well try Mastering Magic. I guess it's fun. I don't know that there's a definitive goal. So in terms of the show, okay, he keeps going from this thing to this thing to this thing. I think it's fun enough in that regard. So maybe not the most engaging, but, you know, not bad. So fine. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would have to say, but no, fine. And then last on the list is Promise of Wizard, episode 1. And I don't think this one was rated too high, and I can kind of see why. I think if you're into the reverse harem sort of stuff, you know, I don't know how many of y'all are of the female persuasion. I just don't look at those YouTube statistics. And maybe you're a guy and you're just into reverse harem. If you're junky for that sort of stuff, similar to how I am for isekai, this show may actually be pretty okay for you. For me, you know, I'm interested in the otherworld aspect of it, and I'd have to say that it's a little weak in that regard. And the main problem, I think, is just that the main character is very passive. She spends pretty much most of the episode standing when everybody else is talking or doing stuff. So it's not like outright bad. It's just not engaging in and of itself. So it's not like that one about the Saints, because that one was really nice because, you know, our main character was kind of doing her own thing. It's like this one, it says she's the great sage. They want the great sage's power, but it's not necessarily clear what that is. You would think, well, okay, she's probably not going to be a wizard, or is she like an unlimited source of mana? Well, they're not showing that, and maybe it would be her knowledge, the way she thinks, but they're not showing that either. So it's, I don't know. I think it's falling very deeply into that. They're not really doing anything with it too far beyond the setup for very obvious reverse harem. If that's your thing, then maybe it's an actually enjoyable show. It didn't feel insulting. It just didn't, like, grab me in any way. And you know what? There's probably plenty of things that I watch that are kind of like that. Some things that people will actually say is trash, I think, but I don't know. I get the impression that one anime, Notorious Talker, may have been called trash, but I appreciated it for actually bringing a very different kind of main character who felt very convincing in his above the board underhandedness, I guess. Like, he wasn't unjust, but he goes nuclear on people that wrong him, kind of thing. And I don't know. Maybe I'm talking a little bit too much about that. Is there anything else worth bringing up? You know, gotta wrap up this video. And yeah, if you heard me, yeah, I think the reason I'm doing Animal Crossing, well, part of it is that little bits here and there to keep my islands warmed up in case somebody who got a new Switch and got a copy of Animal Crossing is like, hey, I could use people to help touch trade items or help me stock my thing, or I want to show my island off to people or something like that. And I don't know that I have the energy to try taking care of all 3 of my islands on a day-to-day basis. Played around with it a little bit over the break, and was like, yeah, no, I don't even have the energy to do that. Went on break, and when I went back to work, it's like, yeah, maybe I'll touch it on the weekends or something like that. And we'll have to see if I'll do that as well. But I got back to my 3rd island, which, if you're not familiar with Animal Crossing or Animal Crossing New Horizons, that is what it was called, yes. Basically, you have your island. Your island has a rating. It's between 0 to 5 stars. I'm not even sure what a 0-star rating would even look like. You beat the game once you reach 3 stars, and that when you beat the game, you unlock terraforming, and then at that point, you're pretty much playing, okay, I'm going to make this island into whatever I feel like I want to make it into. With certain limitations, because like you can't get rid of certain buildings or any of the buildings or something like that. You can only move them around. But the idea is, you know, you kind of have these 2 aspects to island life, which is I wanted to have a lot of decorative stuff versus a lot of naturey stuff, I guess. It's not quite the right word, but it's looking for something that's like either, well, trees and flowers kind of help a lot with that. Well, I forget what it's called. Scenic, I think it is what it is. So you wanted to have those balances and build them both up to eventually reach 5 stars. And at 5 stars, well, at that point you can start showing off the island, and also something. I'm trying to think what I want to say, and I don't know. Anyways, I reached 3-star on my 3rd island, and then I did some major restructuring of it, and I never did quite fill it in. It's got a lot of blank spaces, and the scenic stuff in particular was starting to make me tired, because I was trying to make handcrafted things instead of depending on flowers and trees and stuff. You know, only enough trees as to what I really need. I basically paved over the whole island so that the only thing of interest was, from a dirt perspective, is one 8x8 area, which means if I want to look for new weeds that have sprouted or fossils or anything that have appeared in the ground, they only appear in that one area. It's a very easy island to maintain. It has a handful of trees, enough to only do what's strictly needed, if not a little bit more than that, because the way it's behaving right now isn't quite right. I'd have to take a look at my math again, but I almost suspect that they kind of nerfed something. Makes me wonder if I can adjust the trees again. But the point is, you know, there's only like 22 trees, I think. Rivers are intentionally raised. Most of the island is raised. It's like a giant double-layered cake in that regard, with a little dent in the middle where surfaces are. But I digress. Thinking about it, and I guess even if I don't get it 5 stars, it feels like it's worth my time to start filling it in with some of the things that are like, oh, I'll figure this out once it starts getting above 5 stars or above 4 stars or 3 stars or something like that. But now at this point I'm like, nah, let's just do this. And I do have a backup plan for trying to improve scenicness. It's a slow plan, but you know what, it might be worth it. So I'll have to see about that, but I don't think I'll be talking about it too much more after this. But it is a funny island. It's Oops All Owls, because Al, the gorilla, was the kind of inspiration for it. It's just like, but this is his island, his very oppressive island. And if
Fun stuff. Maybe I should, like, upload a YouTube video of this stuff. But probably only if I ever get the island to actual 5 stars, and also if, you know, I finish putting stuff on it. Things to think about. Anyways, that's me having yapped on for long enough. I'm sure y'all are like, man, why did I watch this entire video? Why did you watch this entire video? But it's okay. Maybe it's because you're like, I like old YouTube, and, you know, Gigafrost makes me feel like old YouTube is just still hanging around saying, yeah, don't worry, I'm still out there somewhere. I don't know. Anyways, y'all have a nice week.